Welcome to part 6 of our sampler project. We are going to be using the edge joining foot again. This time we're going to be using the little slot right here where we can sew down ribbon. So we are going to be using our light and our dark background. We're going to be using our 1/4" ribbon. And then I also pulled out a ruler and a pencil so that I can mark where I would like my ribbon to go. So let's go ahead and get started. With the edge joining foot, on the last video that I made, part 5, I did an extensive amount of explanation of how the foot works. So if you do need that updated information or that instruction as to how to use the foot and what all the slots are for, please go ahead and watch part 5 and you'll be able to have a better understanding of the attachment itself. But for this project, what we're doing is we're going to be taking our 1/4" ribbon and we're going to be sewing it down into the fabric, and I'm going to try to make this in a couple of rows. So I'm going to excuse me, I'm sorry. Yes, my allergies are in full force right now, so thank you springtime. I love seeing winter leave, but my throat goes crazy. But what I want to do is I want to take a couple inches in from the edge. I want to go ahead and sew down a strip, and then a couple, maybe a 1/2 inch over from that, I want to sew in another one that's a little bit shorter. And then I also want to do that from the other side to kind of make a crosshatch pattern. So it would look something like that on the fabric, and I think that would look real pretty in all 4 corners. And we're going to actually make 4 panels like this. So we're going to do 2 light and 2 dark. If your fabric and your ribbon are too closely matched in color, you can use, of course, different ribbon on your fabric. So if you wanted to use a dark color on your light ribbon and then use a light ribbon on your dark background, you can certainly do that as well. But what I'm going to do is I would like to mark my fabric so that I have an idea of where I'd like my ribbon to lie. So I've gone in 2 inches from the edge, and I think I'm going to go up 1, 2, 3, I want to go maybe 4.5 inches up, or maybe even 5 for the outside one. And I just want to make a line just so that I have a reference. And then from that line, I'm going to go over 1 inch. And instead of 5 inches this time, I'm going to go up 1, 2, 3, I'm going to go 4. And I'll do that going this way as well. So 2 inches in, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 inches. And this is going to be 2, 3, 4, yeah, 5 inches. This is going to be a little hard to see with my pencil mark, but I'm just giving myself a point. 2, 3, 4. I'm just giving myself a way to know where I would like my ribbon to stop. And then when I use my edge foot, I'll be sewing down the ribbon onto the lines to the point where it would end. And then I would wind up getting that crisscross, almost like a tic-tac-toe board effect. So let's get started on sewing. We're going to be loading our first line into the machine so that we can sew down our ribbon. Here's the ribbon that I'm going to be using. So I just put pins at the end of each line so that I know where I would like my stitching to start, or at least around that point. And then what I'm going to do, that's also going to help me line this up. So having the pins here is going to help me line this up. So I'm going to take the little bite in the fabric and I'm going to bring it right under approximately where I believe that bite is going to end. So I can kind of bring it forward and I can look through the first slot. I can see it right there. I know you probably can't from this angle. Let me see if I can show you better. So there's my little bite. So I want to go ahead and just have it right in front of the needle hole. Okay, and then I can start sewing a little bit behind it. So that would be, if I do it in every single line, then that won't be a problem. I do want to just put something down on my fabric just to kind of help hold it down in place. Then I'm going to go ahead and take my ribbon and I'm going to go ahead and feed it into the ribbon slot. And I want to pull that back until I can see it. Okay, now that it has achieved reaching the needle. Alright, and now I'm going to put it down. I can see that the ribbon is underneath the needle hole. I can now take out my pin and hold my threads. You always have to hold your threads at the beginning of when you're going to sew. So hold your thread. And you want to take with your hand. I have a stitch length of about, I don't need it really long or really short, so I have it about 8. And I'm going to go ahead and just turn the wheel to catch that first stitch for me. So I'm not using my foot yet. Okay, now I can take off my weight. I can do a back stitch. And I'm again using my hand wheel to do the back stitch to just lock it. I only want to do one. And then I'm going to put it back into a forward position. And I'm going to look for my line, which is right here. And just sort of hold that down in place so I can start to actually slowly sew my line. Make sure that I'm in the right spot. Okay, I'm just trying to keep my line right in the centered under the foot. Okay, so I've gotten to the edge of the fabric. I'm going to just do a back stitch. I'm going to use my hand wheel for that, and then go forward. And that's it. Now I did use a contrasting color of thread so that you could see how it looks. Right, so I wasn't quite in the middle, but it's still a really pretty little effect, and it's very good at what it does. That little slot, putting the ribbon through there, does the job. And this way I can go back here and I can actually, if it's too long, I can trim it. So if the end of the ribbon wound up going farther back than I wanted to, I could always trim it, but I like it where it is. So I'm going to go ahead and take the next piece that I have, and what I'll do is I'll just sort of, see, I don't like how it's kind of kinked here. I can just go ahead and set it down, get a good estimate of how long it needs to be by eyeballing it, and then just trim it, because this doesn't need to be perfect. So I think I want to trim it about here, and then I will sew the next one down. And that's what you do for all of your lines, however many lines you want to do. If you wanted to do the crisscross tic-tac-toe version like I did, or if you wanted to maybe make the lines just on a diagonal, a couple of diagonal lines going across the edges, the way that we did on our other piece with the tucks. I had made mine with a diagonal. So if you wanted to just mimic that and make a couple, 2 or 3 diagonal lines, or even just one, if you're only wanting to do one, you can just do one. But you can make this however you want so that it matches your vision. You can take a piece of paper and just draw it as far as what it is that you might like to try to do with your block. I actually did that on mine. I just sort of put down some ideas so that I could have a goal. So what I would like my block to look like. So this is going to be a short video this week because we already went over a lot with how to use the foot last time. But go ahead and please make your block, share it with us, and this will be available to be viewed. The video is on our Facebook group of Featherweight Skill Series. It's also on Pamela'sPostings.blogspot.com, and it is also on my YouTube channel, Pamela's Postings. So if you would like to just go ahead and give me some pictures of what you've made or some feedback, I would really love to hear from you and see what you've done. Have a wonderful weekend, and next time we will be doing another block. We are over halfway through our project, and stay tuned. We'll get back together again. Have a great weekend. Bye, everybody. Okay, so we have our beautiful crosshatch with our ribbon down on top of each other, and this is going to be the corner. Now, we have horrible threads hanging all over the place, and we can't have that. So what do? The ones that are on the ends you don't really have to worry about because they're going to get trimmed off anyways and buried in other seams. But these ones that are on the ends of the ribbon, because you had taken some locking stitches, where that means where you sewed forward and then you sewed backward and then sewed forward again, you can just go ahead and trim it close to the ribbon, the top of the ribbon. And then to really make sure that there's no little tails hanging out on top, you can just go on the back and give that one a little tug, because that'll kind of snug in whatever is still on top. Sometimes you can almost hear it make this little pop because it's pulling the thread through to the back. And that is what quilters do. So that's a good sewing tip if you're making something that needs to have hidden threads. Another thing that quilters would do, and it looks like mine are all knotted. See how it makes a knot? It really does knot your work when you go ahead and you do that back stitching. So I'm not going to be able to show you on this one, but if you had just sewn straight and you didn't do any back stitching, what you could do is go to the back, pull on the thread, and then you would actually see the front thread coming through to the back, and then you would be able to take a pin or something and be able to like grab it and pull it through, and then you could just make a knot with the two tails, and you could just knot it, and then it would be finished off that way. So if you forget to do your back stitching, that's what else you can do in order to make sure that nothing gets ravelly. Okay, so there you go. I hope that you enjoyed watching this.